We are live on YouTube whenever you're ready. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute. It looks like you're saying you don't have control over your audio. And I know it's not a system-wide thing because the other folks have been able to unmute themselves. Is there a way you could call in and keep this muted? Or down at the bottom left using the little caret, the little up arrow by the microphone, you can adjust your microphone settings and test it out. Test speaker and microphone. Let's see here. I'm not sure we can. We definitely need you in order to participate. And when I click on ask to unmute, nothing pops up for you? No? Okay.
Now it might have worked.
Oh, yay. Excellent.
Okay. Now my screen went. Good evening. This is the October 28th, 2020 Design Review Commission meeting. Our first agenda item is roll call. My name is Glenn Cass. Next person.
Eugene Sam here.
And John Gray.
Thank you. Second item is adoption of agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye for Glenn.
Aye for Eugene. Sam.
Aye for John.
Thank you. Third item is public comments. This is for items that are not on this or upcoming agenda and within the purview of this commission. Do I have any raised hands or star nines?
If you'd like to make a public comment on an item that is not on the agenda, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. Alternatively, if you're calling in, use *9 and you will be recognized. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. I do have a question on the consent calendar before we make a motion. The recommendation is to move the discussion to November 9th. That's Monday. I thought we were meeting on the 11th.
I'll note that the 11th would generally be the right date. However, that's a holiday. And so the new meeting date would actually be the 12th. And that's also on our agenda to make sure everyone can attend that meeting. But the correct date would be November 12th.
Okay, thank you. So do I have a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Before we go there, I
We
think
have a
John.
raised hand by Jonathan.
We do have public comment from Pam Swartz, who has requested that this item is removed from the consent calendar and open for discussion.
Okay, I guess the idea then is that we move this to the end of the agenda.
So that's typically how city council does it, and this, you can do that if you prefer, but generally speaking, at planning commission and design review commission, we do the consent items first.
Okay, so we're open to public comments then? I mean, we have no presentation here unless Jonathan wants to do a presentation.
Nope, we'll go ahead and let Pam into the meeting and have her make her public comment.
Hello,
you're-
can you?
Yep, we can hear you.
I'm not seeing myself. Let me see if I can start the video
You can
here.
do this. Oh,
Hi there.
yeah, there we are.
We are Jeff and Pam Swartz. We live at 1139 Sierra Vista Way, which is the adjacent property mostly affected by the proposal at Lot 66. And I hope that you've had a chance to read our letters that we submitted this morning. I know Jonathan forwarded them to you and put them on the website. But we have several concerns that we've kind of reiterated throughout this entire process that we feel have not been addressed. And so we would like to take the opportunity to ask the Design Review Commission to look at all of these items and address each one. It seems in past meetings, we've seen people talk about them and ask Mr. Ward and Mr. Holt to kind of think about them, but we don't see any actual action and determination on them. So I guess I'll turn it back to you to see if you've looked at our concerns and how you will address them.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have comments? Well, we have, I can say for myself, I have looked at your letter before. I did thoroughly go through the city council meeting. Some of the things that were suggested were actually determined by city council as requirements. Overall, they left it much more general. They left it as like protect the privacy of the neighbors. We did raise comments in the earlier meeting about what the view is on your property from their deck areas and from their back patio area. Those will be critical for us determining the visibility as well. So when we get back to this on the agenda item, we will give it consideration.
Okay,
May I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, John.
Glenn, may I? I'm sure you listened into our meeting when we last talked about this. And one of the things that we did specifically ask the developer to show us was a graphic sightline study to look at potential for lack of visual privacy to your home. And to look at the planting, to look at the position of the views. We raised the question that front side deck really does look like it kind of is right above you guys. And that was a concern. But then also the large glass window in the middle of the house, is that or is that not screened by existing trees to be maintained? So, we've asked them to demonstrate that the next time they come back to this group to show us graphically what the privacy is and if additional mitigation is necessary. I don't think we considered your comment on car headlights, but I think it's a good one. And it could probably be addressed with a little bit of thoughtful design in either landscape or fencing. But that was not something that we talked about. I appreciate that feedback.
we also brought up some other items on our second letter that says other items, such as the storm drain that's now where the new driveway is supposed to be. I mean, there's kind of a long list of things, so it's hard to figure out how we can discuss each one, but we feel that each one should be discussed in full. I'm kind of concerned about the process because the fact that it's on the consent calendar tonight seems a little bit premature when all these things have not been resolved.
Well, the consent calendar simply pushed it back, that we're not intending to discuss it tonight. But in regards to the drainage, We rely as a commission on the city engineer to review that. We have the ability to ask for peer review as well if we feel that it's necessary. But most of the comments on drainage will come through the city engineer, not through this commission.
Okay, so can you explain to us, like, what is the process now? Will all of our concerns be addressed in detail, so that we can, hear what your body is doing and your position on these things? We just feel like we're not really informed.
Can I just jump in? And so I believe that this was continued because not all of the comments were addressed by the applicant, so they needed more time in order to address the comments from the commission. So that was the intention, is not discussing it this evening, but at the next meeting. And I imagine that based on your public comments, Jonathan will address those in his next report, and they will be included in the next report for the discussion of the commission.
I have a question about the non-native oleander hedge privacy barrier above the stacked broken concrete block wall. It's approximately, I don't know, 50
Just
years old.
sort of as a means of order. So typically you have 3 minutes to provide your
Yeah,
comments, and then there's
Right. It's not a dialogue back and forth between us. So,
but I think that Jonathan would be happy to answer your questions.
yeah, I
outside
think
of
that, the best I can advise you is to be aware that there right now is a November 12th meeting to address this, unless it has another continuance. And Jonathan is here today to hear your comments and has received written comments from you, and he will pass those on, and we will ask the developer to address them as well. Thank you.
Okay, can we ask for the November 12th date to be rescheduled? We're going to be offline on that date. And we would certainly want to participate because we've been involved since day one, but we just aren't going to be online that day. I mean, we're going to have we just are kind of off the grid that day.
So this is sort of not something to talk about in the public setting, but I think that Jonathan would be able to work with you outside of this meeting. So I'm going to make you a panelist again, and we will see if there's any other public comment on this item. And if you do have public comment, please go ahead and raise your hand.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 5, study sessions. We have none scheduled for this meeting. Number 6, signs. We have none scheduled for this meeting. So that takes us to item 7A, which is continued public hearings. The first item is on the development at 850 Hoth Investors. And Nancy is the staff member. And Nancy, go ahead and present your report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Nancy Tran, Planning Department staff. The item before you is BR 0720 and major subdivision TR 9540, which proposes demolition of the existing commercial building on site and construction of a new 4-story multi-family development at 950 Hoth. At the previous hearing, the Commission provided feedback on the project's massing and design and directed the project sponsor to make modifications in response to the Commission's comments and recommendations provided in the staff report. Here are the updated renderings side by side with the previous proposal, based on the modifications made to the project. The plans have been revised to reduce the 4th story, the roof deck, the stair penthouse, and to minimize the visibility from the street at this level. However, the plans don't reflect any changes to the elevator height. The roof overhang has also been reduced at this level. However, some areas still exceed the 3-foot maximum recommended by staff. Roof railings at the roof deck were pulled from the building edges 3 feet to minimize noise and privacy impacts to adjacent properties. The material and color at the ground floor were changed and the garage made opaque. And new windows wrapping around the building corners were provided at the upper floors. No changes were made to the upper floor facade elements, the shared passageway between the buildings to access the rear creek. No additional landscaping and no changes were made to the building setbacks. Since publication of the staff report, staff received 2 comments, one from Ty Allison expressing opposition to the project, citing concern with the excessive height, density, and the proposed design. And from David Clark expressing issue with the rear deck in the creek setback. Staff's comment on the creek passageway and easement, how it should be decided by the design review rather than the planning commission, and that additional landscaping was proposed. That no additional landscaping was proposed. Based on the review of the project, staff recommends that the commission forward the application to the planning commission with the qualified recommendation for approval with conditions, unless they have additional minor design changes. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
John, do you have any questions for Nancy?
The one question I have is the deck in the creek flood zone. Is there a variance being requested in this?
It is not. Actually, I spoke to the city engineer earlier today, and the deck is considered permeable, and permeable. And if it's permeable, it's considered landscaping, so they wouldn't require any waiver, any variance, or a creek exception.
Thanks, Nancy.
Okay, Eugene, any questions for Nancy?
No questions.
Okay, let's move on to the presentation by the developer.
Thank you. Nancy, am I in, or Sarah, am I unmuted, I assume?
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. This is Brian Griggs. This is the 5th time we've been in front of your commission, so I think certainly Commissioner Cass is very familiar with it, as is Eugene. We've tried to make our most recent submittal, and hopefully you got the supplement which Paul and Cullen put together. They did one supplement over the weekend and then another one just yesterday that tried to embellish the changes that were requested. As Nancy said, we addressed almost everything except for the extent of the 3 versus 4 foot roof overhang. I think the reduction in height in the elevator shaft was really driven more by just codes and operation of it. We did make some movements relative to color to try and differentiate it and reduce the impact of it. But I really want to let Paul and Cullen go through the specific changes. We did receive Mr. Clark's letter late today about some of his concerns in the Creeks Commission. We're just trying to be good partners with the city. And, I think that was evidenced by what I said last time, which is our openness to considering something with the visions of the Creeks Committee, us being the terminus of it. But I certainly don't envision, and I have an email into the city to inquire, that this could be expressly conditioned. It's clear that the 2 projects on Lafayette Circle on the shield block in the Creeks Master Plan and the downtown development specific plan did require or envision direct access from Lafayette Circle to the creek. That's not the case with the property that we're proposing to develop. Although we did acknowledge that there is, the ability to embellish the creek setting by virtue of bank access, and it's certainly something we will continue to be supportive of if we can come to some sort of an agreement that overcomes some of the concerns I have as a developer. So with what's left, Paul, if you or Cullen want to jump in on some of your changes, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I can run through. I mean, Nancy highlighted most of the issues here. We dropped the fourth floor height a foot as was requested last time, so accommodated things there. And then on the depth of the overhangs, there was a request to move it from 5 feet to 3 feet. This is at the fourth floor level at the penthouse units. We have overhangs that, if you recall, kind of extend along the walkway that leads to the units, and then on the other side where the balconies are. So we looked at it and felt, the 4 feet, we're hoping that you guys would accept the 4 foot, the reduction down to 4 feet with, we feel like it provides the adequate shading and sort of the cover that one would need as they walk down to their unit. And then also on the balcony side, again, providing the cover that one would need to sort of hang out there and not be always exposed to the sun or rain. And then just looking at the proportions, we just kind of felt like it worked really well with that size. So let's see, we talked about the elevator. I mean, we fully plan to make that elevator as low as we possibly can. At this time, we didn't lower it because we felt like, doing our research on elevator overrun heights and all that we didn't want to show something that couldn't be achieved later on. So we felt like it was at a good spot and we did all we could. But as we get into construction drawings down the road, we'll of course try to bring it down even more if possible. We moved all the railings in that was requested. So not much to say there. I think the biggest move we made was at the front. Obviously that's the most impactful elevation, the one that everybody's going to see, the ones that pedestrians are going to walk by. And we tried to address the feeling of the second floor looming over by changing the materials of the base, lightening it up a little bit, giving it a wood texture there to soften it up, make it more pedestrian feeling. We also looked at the corners at the windows, and there was a comment about those corners. We tried to, we actually thought that it was a great idea, bringing the wrapping the corner with the window, and then just around the sides, softening up the overall elevation by reducing the white walls a bit. I think it sort of lowered the massing or the feeling of those corner elements there by bringing the darker tile into it and reducing the amount of white space. And then at the entry, we played with the entry, tried to play it up more. We introduced the Corten steel portal, changed the lettering and the canopy, just contrasting color so it'd stand out more. And that's a night shot, so it's lit up, but during the day it would be more of a black color in front of the white. And then just sort of embellish the landscape a bit at the Corten planters to sort of improve that. Just felt like the wood tile down there at the base really lightened it up and didn't give it that looming quality that we talked about. But if you remember before, it was a very dark base. I think that really kind of emphasized what you guys were talking about. And we also kind of, by introducing the wood tile material, it sort of touches into the wood elements under the roof. So it ties all together a lot better than before. And then just introduce as much glass at the lobby and front entry again to bring that transparency that was talked about. And then I think if you see the night renderings, it emphasizes even more what's going on there. Yeah, I think those were all the major moves we made, I think, to address all of the comments that came in on the architecture side. So,
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Through the chair, may I just ask one question on the elevator? I know it's too detailed right now, but is it an electrical elevator or hydraulic elevator?
Yeah, Colin, the ones we were looking at, you're on mute.
The elevators I was looking at, I believe, were hydraulic.
Okay, so correct me if I'm incorrect. Isn't the electrical elevator the one that has lesser override? Correct me, I'm not the elevator expert. I do a lot of elevators, but I usually rely on some other folks in my team. But I'm just looking at the staff and your struggles to try to reduce the massing character anywhere and anyhow we can achieve, right?
Sure.
So I just wanted to ask that question. That's all. So you're using hydraulic. Can you go research electrical and see if you could achieve a lower override so that height that the staff is recommending be further explored?
Yeah, my goal in the research is to provide an elevator with the lowest overrun. Placeway
Okay,
overrun.
sounds good.
Reduce that height
Got
as
it,
much as
got it. I'll
possible.
leave it to you. Got
Whether
it.
it's
Thank
electric
you.
or hydraulic.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any questions by John? Are the developers team done with their presentation?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to commissioner comments. Eugene, why don't you continue on with
Maybe.
your?
Shall we do
Oh,
public
Okay.
comment
I'm
first?
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Public.
Yeah, community are, yes, public comments.
Yeah,
Sorry.
for it.
Do we have raised hands?
We do have raised hands. If you would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. David has raised his hand and I will promote him now. So raise your hand at the bottom of your screen or *9 if you're calling in. And you'll have 3 minutes. And then if you want to maybe stop sharing for the moment, whoever's sharing.
Yeah.
Cool. David, you are in the meeting if you would like to make your comment. Unmute yourself and make your comment.
Okay, thanks. I've got quite a few comments actually, and I submitted, as you know, I submitted some written comments on behalf of the Creeks Committee, and specifically we have a downtown Creeks implementation task force. There's no way to go through all those comments now, but the big one is, and Mr. Griggs, this is partially from an offshoot of what you had comment you had made at the last meeting, which was that that you offered that you were amenable to a potential covenant of some kind that would allow public access in the future at such time that, for example, the adjoining parcel to the north and east became available. So that's what we'd like to try to get included in some way in what's going on with the process now. And I know you just said that you weren't interested in having that be specifically conditioned, but what we had in mind was something that I'm calling a springing easement, which would be an easement for public access on the current creek, in the creek setback area, perhaps part of the deck area. Anyway, the area adjacent to the creek, that's number one. Number two is would be for a path, public access on a path that would lead from that area out to the sidewalk, both of which would spring into life at some point in the future when the parcel next door, if it became available and there were conditions of some kind there that would allow, that would make this make sense, that we move forward on that basis. And it's not intended to make that area at the rear of your parcel now, public access now. That's not the idea. That's sort of the biggest thing. I've got 3 minutes here, so I want to get that out of the way first. I'm not quite sure I just don't know how that mechanically fits into this process. It seems to me that the Design Review Commission has some authority or jurisdiction to do something along those lines, either suggest that as a possibility. I don't know if that becomes a condition now, it becomes a recommendation. There's language in the staff report that says that maybe when the project gets to the Planning Commission, they may propose an easement. I mean, all kinds of caveats in that language. I don't see that there's any binding nature to that part of the staff report. I don't understand. So I'm not sure how the mechanics work. I don't know now if now is the right time to raise this. There's also language in the staff report that says the city council is going to weigh in on the creek setback. I don't know why the city council has to say anything about the creek setback the way it's set up now. So if the point of this is to pass this off until such time that the city council hears this, and that's the first time we're going to talk about springing easements, I think that's too late. I think we ought to address it sooner, ideally now. But big picture, that's what I had in mind. There were some questions or comments in the presentation about the deck incursion, for lack of a better word, into the creek setback. But I think that's Nancy explained that because technically that deck, I gather, is actually landscaping because it's made of redwood and as it's designed now, is intended to be on some kind of permeable supports. So, Sarah, you want me to stop?
That was your 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, David. It looks like Brian Moore is seeking to make a comment, so I'll let him in. Brian, you are in the meeting if you would like to unmute yourself and make your comment.
Got it. Been retired for too long. I don't know how to operate this thing. We are 101 Lafayette Circle, the building to the north. My wife and I, our issue all this time has been as much space as possible. If it would be possible to somehow move the building over to the right where they have a permanent easement to get to the other building in the back, they will never build on that. You know, we may build on our parcel. So any additional space or movement to the right that's possible would be great. I think we've expressed that before. In addition to that, you know, we're concerned about the light for our tenants and the colors. And I know you guys work on this very, very hard, but, you know, as light as it can be in there to maintain some of the brightness for our tenants so they're just not completely blacked out would be appreciated. So those are kind of the things that we're looking at in relationship to this. So that's all we have to say.
Thank you, Brian. If anyone else would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see any other public comments. So 5 minutes for the applicant.
Rebuttal? Yeah.
Well, hopefully not a rebuttal, but just more comments. You know, certainly we've tried to engage with Mr. and Mrs. Moore and their property. We were not very happy that the fire department, after meeting with them 3 times, told us the only way we could exit this building is to put a 10-foot CMU wall along the property line or to create a rated exit corridor. But that is what it is. I think as far as the access to the creek, you know, I think down the line, if there is to be, you know, it's a little challenging because once we put that 10-foot block wall in, when and if Mr. and Mrs. Moore redevelop their property, it's unknown of whether they would be able to remove that wall and then have the required exiting through a joint easement, which we've proposed several times. But, you know, I think relative to the conditions of approval and the requirement, I've intentionally not brought in attorneys. I don't want to bring in attorneys. I'm just trying to figure out what's a reasonable compromise, being as I've lived in this town for so long, and I do want to try and work with the Creeks Commission. So, you know, just to be clear, I'm open to, you know, I think the word springing easement or springing access is probably a very good one. I don't agree to necessarily bring that through my property. I think as far as good faith, if the Morris property at 101 Lafayette Circle to redevelop and there was to be proposed a joint walkway, we would certainly look at the opportunity to have that access the creek, but I'm not prepared to proceed at this time with that. And that's it.
Before we have commissioner comments, there actually was one comment or one question that I had for the developer. That CMU wall along that property line, what's the finish on that wall?
Colin, have we spec that? I don't know that we have, candidly, Chair Cass.
Currently, we haven't spec'd a finish for that wall yet.
Okay, so are you amenable to a stucco finish or something to improve it from looking just like a CMU wall?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're talking and facing the 101 Lafayette Circle building.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let's go to Eugene. Eugene, you
Okay,
want to make comments?
Yeah, thank you, to the chair. Before I start my comments, I forgot to ask one question to the architect, and I might be going a little bit out of order. It's a hypothetical question to the architect. I'm looking at the section on sheet number, what is it? Sheet number A402. It's got 3 cross sections, or so 4 cross sections on the sheet. I'm looking at, say, using cross section number 3 and 4, or no, 3 and 2 as a frame of reference. Let's look at cross section number 2 on sheet number A, 402, or what is it? Let me see, 02. Yeah, 402. So this is a question for the architect. Again, I just want to just have this asked about, discussed, so I can get an understanding if they've even tried these ideas or not. I know there's some question and concerns from the community as well as also the owner about this creek access idea and if there's even any possibility of that. And obviously it's a private property, but I just looking at from a design standpoint, looking at that cross section. If I was to, this is a question to the architect, if I was to look at just shifting the first floor plate on that cross section toward the property line and zero property line, because you don't have any windows there anyways, it's a parking garage and you already have a fire rated CMU wall. One hypothetical idea would be, what if you push that, not knowing the practicality and structural alignment and all the other things have to be rearranged, but your second and third floor and the roof plan stays, but your first floor parking level shifts left on that cross section number 2. So it takes that, what is it, how wide is that? Is that 4 feet? I don't know, 5? I don't know how wide rated corridor or that alleyway is there, but get rid of that alleyway if you can and make a large, like a double the width of the hallway or the alleyway or the opening where the bicycle pavilion, bicycle storage, and all the other a little bit more open areas on the right side of that cross section. So you can double that width. And I understand, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a, I'm not the owner, but I'm just looking at just purely from a hypothetical design exercise to achieve a more public looking access linearly through your site along one side, not having split on left and right side with small alleyway look, but can you put all of it congregated on one side as opposed to splitting it? And because you already have a fire rated wall anyways, for parking area with CMU wall, make that your exterior wall for the parking garage, and then your housing on top is still fixed where you have it. So you can get windows and a little outdoor decking situation. Of course, we want to set it away from the property line so you don't look into neighbor's property. So this is a question to the architect. What have you looked at that to allow a more publicly visible or publicly more inviting corridors through your site to the back creek, so that potentially there could be an opportunity for some, way for the public to, go through there. And knowing, I understand the issue with the private property and all the things that the developer, the owner, Mr. Griggs talked about. I get it. I'm very understanding and sensitive about that. But just from the other perspective of the city and the community and the creek folks who are looking for a desirable way to get through this area to reach the back creek.
You're talking about
can I ask that to the architect? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, are you talking about making an interior corridor along the edge?
No, it was the exterior. The bicycle storage is all outside, isn't it? I'm talking about the right side. You have two corridors, linear corridors on either side of centralized massing going on your property. I'm just saying that you keep your housing where it is, so because you need setbacks to get windows and create massing profile, but shift the first floor plate in cross section over to the right, so you could get a more generous, double the width on the right side, which right now appears to be an outside walkway anyways with bicycle storage there. Am I wrong? Is that
you're talking about shifting the lowest level to the south?
Yeah, toward the left side. If I look at your cross section number 2,
yeah,
I'm saying shifting that entire first floor where your parking garage is butting against the CMU wall, so capturing that alleyway, leftover a corridor there between the CMU and the parking garage, and putting that into the equation on the right side by the other property line, so you get double that width.
I think wasn't the issue the exit corridor coming down?
Well, we need something for that stair that's on that side of the building to exit out. So what I think he's talking about is He's talking about shifting the garage down and making that exit corridor wider.
Along the north side, along
Along
Mr.
the-
Moore's
By
property?
shifting the garage down to the property line on the south, we would make the space between the CMU wall and the garage wall wider. So it would just be, I mean, there still would be a CMU wall,
Yeah.
but it would just be a wider path. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's right. To the architect, I'm just looking hypothetically, not creating just a little alleyways, but you could double and multiply the one of them to be done more generously, and so that potentially, if there's a way to do that, the public could come through it, if that's possible, theoretically or not. And then the other side, you go to the to zero lot, because you don't need windows for the parking garage.
Right. I mean, we do have opening. Well, we are relying on an open garage for ventilation. So
When looking at the layout of our open parking garage, the depth of the stalls was mandated by the municipal code, as well as this two-way drive aisle. When we look at the southern part of our design, what we're trying to achieve here with our circulation is this is our accessible path of travel.
yeah.
So you enter the building, you have your elevator to all levels, and this is all the ADA compliant to get you all the way to the back. One thing we were struggling with in this project is from the west to the east south side of our lot, we have a dropping grade. And so we were able to provide our accessible path on the southern end, whereas on the northern end, the cross slopes and slope and direction of travel is a little bit greater than what code allows. Furthermore, because we do need 2 exits out of this building.
Yeah.
So
We do need to maintain that path down there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just asked a hypothetical question. Obviously, if there's a will, you could try it, but I know that I'm not taking into consideration all your other factors and other issues, of course. But I'm just looking at creek access. How do you create more of a generous, more wider corridor? That's a long corridor, right, all the way to back deck area. And how do you present a compelling case for potential partnering with the city and the creek folks and others with a more publicly looking piece on one side versus not doing either one to a level where it's very public, right? And then it's because of access, and you do need 2 means of egress and all that. I get it, but there's probably a way. But okay, got it. That's just a hypothetical question. Okay,
Yeah.
So let me go back. Now that part is complete. I'm through the chair. I'd like to make my comment. Oh no, one more comment. The staff did request a 3-foot overhang to be as much mitigated as possible. Can you show me in these sections so we know what we're talking about? Section number 3, is that the one that shows the overhang being excessively beyond what the staff is recommending?
Yeah, section number 3 at the top floor, we moved it into
Can you pull that on your screen if you can, so we just let the public know what we're talking about, because it's hard to just follow the staff and your commentary on that. So the community folks know exactly why you need it and why also the city wants it that reduced. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we
that one right there?
Yeah, the 2 on either side of the top floor, we reduced those down to 4 feet. On the left one, we have a 4-foot walkway that takes you to the front door of your units. So somebody who's using these units gets off the elevator or comes up the stair and walks along underneath that overhang, it aligns basically with the overhang. And on the other side, it's a similar deal. You got a balcony. We want to provide adequate shading for the unit, plus have a space for somebody to sit under the overhang a bit more than the 3 feet would provide. So we used to have it out at 5 feet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you used to have it 5 feet. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we moved it in.
Because so I get it, to the architect, I understand what you're saying, but I think from staff's perspective, I think they're trying to say, do as much to reduce the massing look. I get it. The overhang looks good, and you're doing sustainable design to shade that roof a little bit as well, and you got more of a glassy look up there versus a massive, wall look. Of course, that's the glass
Yeah.
is more pleasant, I think, as it goes up. You want it to be light and airy, and so you want to cover that. Okay, got it. Yeah, you don't think there's any other way to reduce that profile, right? That program of Unit 28 has to be there, right? 20, what is it? Room number 20.
Yeah, I mean, this would be our recommendation. I mean, of course, you know, staff and the commission could obviously, you know, just condition a certain number, but this is what we felt was a good place.
Yeah, so I understand your approach and all, but I think we're going to have to be very sensitive because the city and the community is very concerned, even though you're looking to articulate and reduce as much and address all the city concerns. It's still way big and dense, but of course, you know, you have the right to go about this. But yeah, that's the reason why I think that if any other way to be creative, understand that sustainable practice is a good thing, but if you can reduce the massing, that'd be great. Okay, enough said. Thank you, Chair, for being patient with me, going a little bit out of order. But now it's my time to just make some comments. So I want to, first of all, through the chair, thank the applicant for addressing the front area, which was a main concern of mine, and the articulation at the corner and the fenestration as it turns the corner on both sides, much improved. And the articulation at the ground level, looking through the mailbox area with some transparencies about it. You know, literal and phenomenal transparency stuff. It's really helpful, and I appreciate that. However, I still have to let you know, and I'm still struggling with that part, is that this is a very big development on that lot, and the way it presents on that street. Even though you've done a great job to address all of my concerns, at least on the front side, it still looks big. And so that's why I'm asking you about the overhang that this city staff had highly recommended. And if we could still see you improve on further articulating the massing to reduce the look and the size, it would be really helpful. But I do want to appreciate and thank the developer and the architect for you know, coming with much improved front elevation. I really appreciate that. And then the creek access, I still think if there's a will, there's a way to do that. Now I'm just talking as a designer here, but again, if we could create a more of a public edge that doesn't have a more of an alley look on both left or right side of that parking area, which is the main footprint, you know, that we might be able to have more inviting opportunity if it is allowed and is capable of doing so, to have some public folks be able to go to the creek from there. So that would be my only comments here. So again, that's all I asked for last time, and I appreciate the developer and the architect coming through on the front, turning the corner at least. But I would urge the applicant to please further address the city staff comments about any additional areas to reduce the bulk, dense look, height look, anywhere to do that. We would really appreciate that, because it's still a very big, dense project on a very tight site. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. That's it.
Okay, John, comments?
Sure. I'd like to start and thank you for addressing the majority of the comments that we spoke about last time. Personally, I am comfortable with what you've done at your top floor heights and roof overhangs. I don't believe one additional foot would make a significant visual difference, and I do understand the practical and rain shelter and the sun shading that you're trying to achieve over there. The front facade, I think you have improved considerably. Thank you for that. I do have one remaining concern on that front facade. While my concern had always been the street level elevation, and it remains rather stark, the framing that surrounds the garage. I believe it is a more sort of friendly, warmer material than it was, and it doesn't recede to the same degree. But in particular, the garage door surround is very blank looking, and I think out of scale with what you would be looking for in a residential kind of a street. I think that mitigation could be very simple if you were willing to consider, increased height of landscape. I mean, your rendering shows your floral planting a little bit taller than it was in the previous rendering. That's in the right direction, but especially on the left-hand side of that garage entry, you've got a 20-ish foot long blank wall, which I would like to see softened. Whether it's with a trellis mounted on the wall or taller plantings that are evergreen, or something like that might just be enough. And whether you want to balance it on the right-hand side of that garage door portal as a framing element, I mean, personally, I think that would be preferable as well. Other than that, I think the corner window treatment is very successful, and the other adjustments you've made have been helpful regarding my concerns.
Okay, my comments. I concur with a number of the comments from the other commissioners. I think the front facade wraparound on the windows was a great improvement. The change in the canopy and the numbering on the building, that worked for me. I sort of agree with John that there is a 20-foot mass of wall on the one side near the garage, which actually looks inviting under the night lights that you have, but doesn't look as inviting during the daytime hour. And it does call into the idea that this is, while you drew the lavender as a little higher, it really doesn't have very much vegetation. And part of the downtown plan is to encourage pedestrian interest and stuff like that. I think that it's still pretty bland from the fact that it doesn't have much interest. I really think that the trellis or some higher plantings, particularly on that side of the garage, would be encouraging. In regards to the comments that were made by the city engineer, I do not agree with him completely. It is permeable. I don't disagree with that. But the creek setback ordinance says no structures, and I've been beaten in the head, told that a deck is a structure in Lafayette. So we do have a structure, whereas if you had just pavers, you would not have a structure there. I still have a problem that this project really encroaches on the 101 Lafayette Circle property. Again, I would say is I have no problem with going up to 5 feet, but squeezing another 2 feet. I'm not convinced that you could not shorten up or make some of those units a little smaller to accommodate that the decking would not be in the creek setback. I am not convinced that you have convinced me under the density bonus that the economics would only work if you made it this big. I see that it's not really that much of an economic issue to shrink some of those elements and get it off of the creekside setback and a little further away, particularly in that back area of the adjoining property. Color-wise, I like it. I would like to see the stucco finish on the CMU wall to make it a little more interesting. And that's pretty much the entirety of my comments. So do we have a resolution?
No, there's no resolution. This would be a recommendation to the Planning Commission.
Okay. So the recommendation, we have a vote on the recommendation, or they just hear the full scope of our comments that we had and that's it? Or what exactly, what's the next step, Nancy?
You would vote.
We
And
would
if
vote.
there's, yeah, if you have any additional comments to add for design changes, for that to the Planning Commission so that they can review that.
Okay. So are we ready to have a vote? Do we need any further discussions as commissioners?
Do we want to list our recommendations going forward?
Well, well, we're at an impasse, I guess, that, you know, Eugene wants to look at those eaves being shortened up a little bit more. I sort of agree with John at this point, 4 feet up high up there. I don't think it has a major impact. I think it was an improvement on bringing them back from 5 feet, but I don't see that 3 feet is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and again, to the chair, to John and Glenn, I'm not doing the detail here. The architect probably knows better with the applicant. When you change some of these, the proportionalities change, and it may not look as good. The intent is good, but it may not look good. So I think they may have already tested it out. And again, I'm all for sustainability and making a nice look, not to shortchange things. Forcing things that doesn't make sense because of some fragmented issues out there. So yes, my desire is to see less density and all kinds of other articulation to reduce the profile of this project. But I think I heard enough from both of you to agree with both of you that it may be okay to move it forward. My main concern, as it's probably with both of you, is that we want to see a well-articulated building. And so I think I'm okay with it, John and Glenn. Your comments are fine. Okay.
Okay. So
I think Glenn, the CMU wall is a great idea you mentioned. We should list that. Please articulate the CMU wall as you indicated. Yeah, let's take that in.
Landscaping on the one side of the garage. Work on the garage door framing or thickness or whatever to proportion it better. Is that correct, John?
Well, to soften the garage door surround with planting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Makes sense.
Okay, so we have a resolution there, I guess. All in favor, say aye. John?
Aye.
Eugene?
If I might add,
Aye.
Yes.
did the commission want to recommend the springing easement for the creek access?
Yeah, we do want some language there for an easement for future possible development.
Okay.
And I guess we'll have to live with the idea that there's no public access from the street itself. It will dead end there at that property on the creek side, unless the future development on 101 Lafayette Circle allows for a joint pathway to get there.
Okay. Sounds like a motion.
So again, the motion, John?
Oh, I support that, yes.
Eugene?
Yes.
And I'm going to say nay.
Okay.
Okay, it passes on as a quorum, passes on to Planning Commission. That's it, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item. This item is a new public hearing. No. Yes. Item DR 12-18CC Allen Guy for the property on Happy Valley Road. And our planner is Jonathan. Do you want to give your presentation, Jonathan, please?
Chair, Before we start on this application, can we briefly go back to the consent calendar and just get a formal motion second to continue to November 12th?
Sure.
And this is for HDP 1320 Holt.
Correct. Okay, so the motion's out there. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor for changing the date to the 12th? Say aye. Glenn Cass is aye. John?
Aye.
Eugene?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, so Jonathan?
Yes. So we have DR 1218. All right. So DR 1218 change of conditions is a request for revisions to the previously approved application DR 1218, which was approved by the Design Review Commission in 2018 for the construction of an approximately 5,000 square foot, one-story single-family residence at 3654 Happy Valley Road. The commission approved development on that vacant lot. The applicant secured a building permit and attained a building permit from the county to start construction, but they're back at the DRC today to propose some changes to the architecture, colors and materials, and landscaping. So here we are on Happy Valley Road, vacant property just east of Happy Valley Road, surrounded by single-family residences on all sides. Newly created lot back in the year 2000, again, approved for development in 2018. So the proposed changes that we'll get into are largely for architectural modifications and landscaping. There's no changes to site planning. There's no changes or minor changes to massing, minor changes to floor plan. As for the architecture and design elements, well, first you'll see figure 1 is the approved front elevation, and then figure 2 here below that is the proposed front elevation.
Can I interrupt you for a minute, Jonathan?
Yes.
Are these both of the same scale?
They are not. So this bottom one here is stretched out just a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the height's not changing, and we'll get into the floor area in just a bit. So you'll notice the removal of the white railings at the front porch, the removal of the bay windows all the way around. There's a conversion of a sliding door to a single door at the right elevation, not shown here, but included in the project plans. There's the removal of the window shutters all the way around. And there's addition of approximately 400 square feet in floor area for an additional bedroom and the expansion of the master bedroom. And you can see the additional floor area in figure 2, front elevation, right side. This right side of the building pops out compared to figure 1. So we have increase in floor area here for an additional bedroom, and then the remaining additional floor area cannot be seen from this elevation. That's in the rear for an expansion of the master bedroom. And of course, I think the biggest noticeable changes are going from the horizontal green wood siding to the vertical white wood siding, and the addition of a portion of the metal roof here over the front porch. As for the landscaping and rear yard improvements, they're retaining one additional tree that was proposed to be removed. That's tree number 488, black walnut, approved to be removed from the tree permit back in 2018, but going to be retained in this proposal. And there's an addition of a handful of trees, 4 Arbutus marina, 8 Western redbuds, and 3 toyon. Typically, the addition of new trees is encouraged, but I wanted to bring this up because one of the comments made at the previous Design Review Commission meeting in 2018 was about WELO and water usage. So they are increasing the number of trees, but they've provided the WELO calculation in your packet, and they've changed some ground cover and shrubs around from moderate to low usage. So they're still within their maximum allowable water usage per year, even with these additional trees. Other rear yard improvements include the expansion of the gravel walkway that's going to wrap around here in the front yard. That's going to connect to the rear yard now. Again, gravel is considered permeable, so no changes to the drainage there. And then the final rear yard improvement is the removal of the solid 6-foot fence at the rear property line. So yes, again, as I mentioned, largely architecture, design, landscaping. There's no changes to site planning, no changes to vehicular circulation, no changes to grading and drainage. And because the height of the building is staying the same and largely the massing is staying the same, no changes to view and privacy impacts. So we sent out the public comment to 26 property owners within 300 feet of the property. We did not receive any comments for inclusion into this report. There may be some during the public comment period, but none in written form. We find that the CEQA determination would still be the same, exempt because it's a single family residence under section 15303. We find that the revisions are in line with the findings made from the previous commission. That commission did not point out any specific comments on color, material, or I'll just leave it at that, color and material. So the same findings can be made. And with that, we'd recommend that the commission review the proposed project, conduct a public hearing, and adopt DRC Resolution 2020-12. Here for any questions.
Okay, moving
Through
on.
the chair, is there a color material board? I know that it called out Benjamin Moore, a particular white color and all that, but actual sample board, is there one for us to look at on the screen?
Yeah, I can pull that up. One moment.
You know, with window mullions also important this analysis because that comes together, and the roof color.
Okay, so I have samples of the roof material, the wood siding, and I think that's the window frame color here. Let's see. Here.
Oh, okay. That was in our handout. What about the wood also? It looks like in the new design they have wood posts that are stained. Looks like at the front porch.
Yes, wood posts at the front. They did not include that in the color and material board, so I can't show that today.
Okay. That would be important in our analysis. Okay, got it. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, developer wanted to do their presentation?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. Let's see if we can get Zoom to work. Share. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for having us tonight. Thanks, Sarah, and especially Jonathan for putting this together. We have the original designer and landscape architect on the line. I don't know if we have to do something to let them in, if there's comments you want them to address, or if we should keep going.
I think you can keep going.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, let's see. Who we are. My name's Alan Guy. This is my wife, Johanna. Fitting with the times, we realized we don't really have many family portraits right now, but this is our baby girl, Madeline, in there. She's 6 months old. My wife, Johanna, works at Gap. I am a co-founder and CEO of Anvil Builders, a large, heavy civil and infrastructure contractor based in the Bay Area, and we also have a disaster response division. So we had planned on moving east and always dreamed of moving Lafayette. We thought we were going to live in San Francisco for a couple more years. With the state of events and COVID and all that, and having a 6-month-old baby on the streets right now, we accelerated kind of our plans to move east. We found this lot and fell in love with it really quickly. We thought it was a very shovel-ready lot, kind of the entrance to Happy Valley, and thought it was a great opportunity to build our dream home. When we dug into it, we wanted to modify a little bit to make it more from a traditional craftsman to a transitional modern farmhouse. So Jonathan already covered a lot of the stuff we're talking about, but I'll breeze through it and get the comments. So this is the original plan right here. Blue is deleted square footage and the yellow is added square footage. So this front portion right here, we shifted left to align with the front entry hallway, a dining room table, and looking into the backyard and pool. The master, we just changed around a little bit. As Jonathan mentioned, we deleted the bay windows off of the house, made them a little modern. And then over on the right side here, the bedroom wing was what really drove these changes for us. I think it's in the next slide. Give me a second. So this is the proposed plan. So the house was originally designed for 3 bedrooms in this right wing, and none of the bathrooms were en suite. And we figured with a young family and the style of houses now, we wanted to add bathrooms to the bedrooms. So that's what really drove these changes. We spent a lot of time with our design team trying to figure out if we wouldn't have to go back to this meeting. But with this size house and the entrance, we figured it was worth doing it right, and that's what drove the additional square footage. Same slide Jonathan has, so I'll zoom through this one. Update landscape design, pretty simple. I'll let the landscape architect talk a little more about this, but the big one was move the spa into the pool, enlarge the pool a little bit. We decided we didn't need a handicap ramp in the backyard, so we removed that from the plans, and then a little more modernization of the finishes. To answer someone's question earlier, the posts on the front porch are a spruce lumber, as shown right now. Here's the updated material board or digital material board with the current times. That is also in the package. Sustainability, so a couple things we tried to do based on who we are and all that. We're adding solar panels to the project, which is we wanted, but it's also part of California Building Code. As most of you know, we are currently working on the locations with the solar engineers to figure out the best place to put them for looks and also overall solar efficiency based on the orientation of the house. We've reduced the amount of impervious surface from the previous approved plans. We have a reduction in landscape water use as well. We're trying to use more recycled materials. One of the big changes we made was the rock underneath the slab. We've changed that to recycle as opposed to a virgin class 2 AB. And the Jonathan, I know that looked like wood, but that's really a cement board siding, which is also a more fire resilient product for the area. And last, we had a couple community supports, our neighbors behind us. Brian and Allie Vesky were very welcoming. They have a young family as well. And then we received some unsolicited feedback from the Lafayette Citizens of the Year, Mr. and Mrs. Richard and Janet Cronk. So that concludes my presentation. I don't know if you have questions or if you want David Thorne or John Newton to speak or.
Okay, any commissioner questions? Okay, let's move on to public questions. Do we have any raised hands or star nines?
If you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. Don't see any.
Okay. We won't need a rebuttal then. And,
Yeah, after that last one, I was worried.
It does look,
okay,
it does look
John,
like perhaps the landscape architect maybe wants to join, so I will promote David now. And they still have 4 minutes on their time if they'd like to use it. David Thorne, is that you?
I think you're muted, David.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
We can?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to echo a couple things that Alan mentioned, not to lengthen this presentation, but I think the biggest change for us was to echo the modernization of the project with the exterior landscape materials, the paving, the fencing, and the simplified palette really. And I just wanted to comment about the additional trees. Those are all native trees that we've added. We are, it's a slight reduction of the willow from the previous application. So we think we've done a good job there. And also, as Alan said, we've rejiggered the pool and made that more compact and added some other features for a young family. So anyway, I think it's a very similar project that was approved previously. It's just been changed aesthetically. And then Alan's done a great job because of his background, bringing in some recycled materials and base rock, which I think really benefits modern projects today. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
none for me. Okay, so let's move on to commissioner comments then, if you're all right. John, you want to start us out?
Sure. I really have no significant concerns with the direction you're taking here. Any minor comments I have on aesthetics, I would say are probably matters of opinion and taste. That is nothing that would be in the realm of conditions. I think the house is not changed a lot, and there's nothing about it that I find objectionable.
Thank you.
Okay, Eugene.
Well, I guess John set it up right. It's a project that is changing the stylistic vocabulary, and the owner is talking about more of a rural farm look, and so I think that's the way it goes, and I don't have any concerns, or I certainly have my own personal things. I do want to make just a minor tweak comment about it, and it's not going to be against or for type of issue, but the windows right above where the gable forms form in the triangulate zone, just want to suggest that maybe look at the proportion of that a little bit. I think there is an opportunity to maybe further slightly refine it by just studying whether right now it looks more horizontal window right above the left side, and then on the right side, obviously, because of the different proportion of the window below, the square window makes probably better sense. But just look at that. I'm not against or for it, but just want to suggest a little bit more refinement on that area. And I did ask about the porch because obviously you have your own personal taste as the owner, Mr. Guy, and I respect that. But maybe you might want to look at how you're going to lay out the furniture there. And I know that the guardrail was in the previous design, and it doesn't mean you have to have a guardrail at all. But sometimes when you have a guardrail in that zone, when you have furnishings and other clutter potential in the front, it helps to unify it and screen it a little bit. So that's just an offer of a suggestion. That's it. I think this is a good project. Welcome to Lafayette.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I concur with the other commissioners' comments. It's a matter of taste and style, but there's nothing that is objectionable to what you have. Actually, I can say proudly that I'm going to be one of the few people in Lafayette that have a green Craftsman house still. So we'll take that off the market, competing against mine. So I like what you did on sustainability. I am very encouraged about the solar, and I hope your solar company comes through. I really encourage the use of solar, particularly because from the previous developer, and they didn't do it, obviously. So landscaping wise, I think the improvements are no problem, are not problematic. In fact, actually, probably in some regards better. So those are my comments. I think that we're ready to approve this project. Do we need any particular language in the resolution, or we just going to approve it? No comment?
We have a resolution prepared.
Okay, so we're going to go with the staff resolution then. So all in favor? Glenn is aye. John?
Aye.
Eugene?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So don't do anything for 14 days. And congratulations on your family, and congratulations moving into Lafayette.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for your help.
Okay, we are just about at the end here. And what do we have? We have elections, I think. Let me see what the agenda says. Other business, confirm the Design Review Commission meeting dates for November.
Yes, so just wanted to double check that everyone can attend because we need a quorum and there's some holidays happening and different things. So we mentioned November 11th is Veterans Day. It's a holiday, so that would be the normal meeting. So November 12th is our anticipated meeting. This also is an anticipated joint session with Planning Commission to review the, it has several kind of names, but I think Miramar maybe is the one that we're going with now, which is on the corner of former Corporate Terrace on the corner of First Street and Mount Diablo, back behind, I think it's Chase Bank, in those medical offices. So it will be a joint meeting between Design Review and Planning Commission. In theory, we might start around 6 p.m. if that's okay with the commissioners, so that we can get to that and then also have our normal design review business as well. Is that? So
that sounds fine with me.
Make it work.
Works for John, and then Eugene?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
I'll be there for sure. Yeah, November 12th. Got it.
And then the second meeting in November is the day before Thanksgiving. And so we have the option to keep that, or we could change it to the Monday or Tuesday, the 23rd or 24th, if there's a preference.
With COVID, I'm in town.
Likewise.
Okay, I'm here too, so.
Same here.
Okay, so shall we just keep it then on the 25th?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. Perfect. And then our only meeting scheduled in December is the 16th.
Okay. Okay, volunteer for ARC. I will volunteer unless someone else wants the challenge.
Thanks, Glenn.
Okay. And then we have election of 2021 Design Review Commission Chair and Vice Chair. So
I would imagine currently, Glenn, you're vice chair, and I imagine that it makes sense perhaps for you to become chair. You've been acting chair, and then you all can determine who should serve in the role of vice chair.
okay, so do you want to have a speech from the candidates for their position, or?
Eugene, if you'd like, I'm happy to defer to you on seniority basis.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too, John, but I was going to be open too, but yeah, I'll take that then. That doesn't matter.
Okay, I do
Thanks.
have one question for Sarah. We didn't rotate the last time we had election when Patrick was renominated. On other commissions like planning, do they rotate that position more frequently?
I think it's typically a year, just
Yeah,
every year
so
they
they do rotate. They do rotate it. Yeah, I think that's what we should be doing, just for all involved here, is that provided we're all still on the commission a year from now, is that I don't expect myself to be chair again. So I just want to put that out. Okay, so we have a nomination, or do we? Nomination for Glenn as chair and Eugene as vice chair. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? I'll say aye. John?
Aye.
Eugene?
Aye.
Okay, Eugene, that means every time I miss you, you have to take over.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
planning to do a lot of traveling in 2021.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, gee. Well, I'll have to talk to John again then. Well,
Okay,
it's a
thank
pleasure
you,
working.
folks.
Yeah, so Glenn, I want to say something to you and John. It's a pleasure working with both of you guys. We're short of 2 more people, but it's been just a wonderful joy working with both of you guys. So I just want to say that. And yeah, let's keep going. All right.
Okay. So we have commissioners' reports. Sarah, nothing? What's new going on in the city?
So I did just want to mention that we are actively recruiting for those 2 open positions. And so please send it out to anybody you think might be interested. John, I did send it to the AIA again, and they responded quite quickly. And we'll be sending out newspapers and email blasts and things. But if you can, just put it on your social media accounts if you have them, and get the word out. We're anticipating to have interviews the week of November 30th. And so hopefully their first meeting would be the 16th in December.
Okay, great. Okay, I guess that ends the meeting tonight. So we'll sign out to the 12th.
The 12th. Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much.